Europe's top sides in a crucial World Cup qualifier. Superb live sporting action for February on Sky Sports.
This is Sky Sports 1.
This is explosive stuff here.
10 seconds left. Steel looks off. That's enough. That's enough.
From Sky Sports, big time boxing!
Hello and welcome to our review of another explosive night of big fight action on Sky. 5 world titles were at stake in the States, 3 of those contests featuring British boxers. There was a tremendous domestic title clash as well between Colin McMillan and Paul Ingle at the York Hall. Joining me for more than 9 hours of action were Barry McGuigan, Duke McKenzie, Gary Jacobs and Gary Mason. Our first fight came from Nashville. It was the WBO heavyweight title clash between the holder, Henry Akinwande, and the challenger, Brighton's Scott Welch. At ringside, Glenn McCrory and Ian Dark.
Thank you very much indeed, Jeff. Welcome to Nashville, where it's cold and snowy outside, but it could get pretty hot inside here. The 2 fighters are in the ring. There's the gangling Henry Akinwande, whose life has been transformed in the last couple of years. And there's the tale of the tape for you. Now, just look at the height there. Akinwande, the tallest fighter in the world, 6 feet 7 inches. Scott Welch, 6 feet 2. Surprisingly, only about 3.5 pounds between them. And that reach, 82 inches for Akinwande, is the longest of any heavyweight since Primo Carnera in 1934. These are the rules. 3 knockdown rule is in effect. Note that, the third one down there. The fighter can't be saved by the bell, except in the last round. The WBO version of the World Heavyweight Championship on the line here in the new Nashville Arena. Akinwande, born and brought up in Dulwich, and Scott Welch from Shoreham in Sussex.
This bout is sanctioned by the World Boxing Organization. The president in attendance, Francisco Valcarcel. Supervisor also in attendance, Jacinth Bryant. Along with the Tennessee Boxing and Racing Board, the director of boxing is John Hopkins. At this time, we present to you the judges scoring this bout from ringside: Rafael Lopez Santos, Eugenia Williams, and Stuart Winston. And presenting to you our referee in charge of this bout, we have Bill Connors. All right, fans, here we go with the big boys of boxing, the WBO Heavyweight Championship of the World, scheduled for 12 rounds of boxing. Introducing to you first the challenger on my left, fighting out of the blue corner, entering the ring wearing black trunks with multicolored trim, hailing from Brighton, England. He weighed in at 229 pounds with a record of 19 wins, 2 losses. He has 16 wins coming by way of knockout. Here is the former British and Commonwealth champion, currently ranked the WBO #1 heavyweight contender in the world, known as the Brighton Rock, introducing Scott Welch.
Big support for Welch here.
Across the ring, presenting the defending world champion on my right, fighting out of the red corner, entering the ring wearing solid black trunks, white lettering, from London, England, now residing in Tallahassee, Florida. His weight, 232 pounds. His record is a fine one at 31 wins, no losses, 1 draw, and 19 wins coming by way of knockout. Tonight, making the second defense of his title, please welcome the defending WBO heavyweight champion of the world, the undefeated Henry Akinwande.
So as Bill
So we're all set to go here. Akinwande has proved in the last year or so, with those wins over Tony Tucker, Jeremy Williams and Alexander Zolkin, that he's right up there in the world's top 10. Is Scott Welch ready for this kind of test? Now Welch, Glenn McCrory, is trying the old mind games again on Akinwande.
Yes, that's his ploy. He's just trying to upset Akinwande, just trying to put him out of his rhythm a little bit. He's done this all week, and he's pulled it up quite a bit. He did seem at one point just to be getting to Akinwande that little bit.
I want a clean fight now. Any questions over here? Any questions over here? Protect yourself at all times. Touch gloves, good luck to both of them. Touch, hold it.
Referee is Bill Connors from Florida, due to go 12 rounds, of course. Welsh weighing in at 16 stone 5. Akinwande here, 16 stone 8.5. Unbeaten in 32 fights. Second defense of the title, he won with an impressive third round victory over Jeremy Williams in June of last year. Is Welsh ready for this? Now, look out here, because I think Welsh is going to really try to get past that big reach of Akinwande and try to rough him up. Can he do it, though? Can he get past that long, raking jab of Akinwande? And don't underestimate Akinwande's power either with the right hand. Scott Welch, who many have seen as a kind of latter-day version of the old 60s ticket seller Billy Walker. He's certainly not that popular yet, but if he won this tonight, he might be on the way to getting into that league.
And already you can see how difficult it is for Welch to get to Akinwande. Akinwande already using that very long left lead, and that's a hard punch to get past.
We had a minor skirmish between the two of them at a press conference earlier this week. It was really handbags at 5 paces, to be quite honest with you. Welsh's battle plan here is to try, I think, to take over in the second half of the fight. But he has to get inside, really brawl away. Body punches would be a big part of his plan. I think there's a possibility, if Welch is successful, that this might just be a wee bit dirty as well.
Yes, I think that's what he wants to try and do. He's got to try and upset him, just rough him up a little bit. But that's it's very difficult to do that, because to do that he has to get close to Akinwande. And you see already how difficult that is. Very long, good levers, and also he can punch with that right hand as well. So he can't afford to stay out too much, Scott Welch.
Akinwande, whose confidence must have risen dramatically now he's moved into the big money. Dominating so far in this opening round. Those punches just landing around the back from Welch. That's what Bill Connors, the referee, wasn't happy about.
I think really Welch's best plan is to try and put Akinwande on the back foot. He's allowing Akinwande on the early stages just to dominate behind that jab and push him backwards.
Akinwande, a huge favourite here. Most of the experts think that he would probably stop Welch. But is this a story that might have a few chapters to come as we draw towards the end of the first round, which I think Akinwande will have won on the scorecards. Welcome back. There's Jim McDonnell, the trainer of Scott Welch.
You listening? Hold your hand when he comes, Scott. Move it with your hands up. Pressure him. Hands up. Are you listening? Want it, Scott. Want it. Want it. First hand that way.
Well, you heard what Jim McDonnell was saying. Want it. And Jim McDonnell has been in at this kind of level himself. He fought as Zuma Nelson, I remember, and late in his career, Barry McGuigan as well.
As McDonnell just wants Welch to pick the pace a little bit. He realises he's staying out, he's been forced behind that jab, he's got to duck down low, he's got to try and get inside them long arms and start working to the body of Akinwande.
He's got to start slipping some of these jabs of Akinwande's as well, hasn't he? People have criticised Akinwande. They've said that he's a slightly dull and non-charismatic kind of fighter, but he's pretty effective, and I wouldn't think too many people would relish getting in with him.
Yes, he will be a very hard fighter to beat. He's very tall, good leverage, he's got good boxing ability.
It's a big step up in class for Welch. Ooh, and there seemed there to be a head from what? Well, there was a butt definitely from Scott Welch there. And it looked a pretty deliberate one, to be quite honest with you. Akinwande suddenly glared at the referee as if to say, well, what are you going to do about that? He definitely nutted him.
Yes, he said he was going to make it rough, but that was a little bit too blatant.
Let him out.
Well, we did warn you. We did have a bit of advanced intelligence as well, that it could get a bit on the dirty side. That was a good left hook, wasn't it, from Akinwande?
Yes, already he's slipping into gear. He's finding Scott Welch pretty easy to hit.
Welch probably feeling as if he needs a step ladder to land head punches.
Yes, I think he's really going to try and concentrate his attack on the body, but he's got to try and get in there first, and that proves not to be very easy. He's got to use a lot more head movement, or else he's just standing up a little bit too upright.
All right, you're fine. Break for him. Let's go. Let him out. Let him out. Step back, both of you.
Good stiff jabs from Akinwande, and starting to let those right hands go as well. So far, it's the fight that the form book rather suggested, and Akinwande going in there. That's just a slip, I think, by Welch, no more. He looks up for this, doesn't he, Akinwande? We wondered how he might be non-motivated for this occasion, but he's doing very, very well indeed. Round two, Henry Akinwande. Now there's the butt by Welch.
Yes, and that was too blatant. He said he was going to be rough, but that was very bad. And rightly, he got a warning for that. But I think he's been a little bit frustrated, Welch. He just can't manage to get inside. Akinwande's catching him with a jab, looks very sharp.
Here's the third round. Welch needing to find a foothold. I think he's had the riot act read to him by Jim McDonnell again between the rounds, Scott Welch. Big disadvantages for him to overcome physically here, as well as the fact, of course, that Akinwande's been mixing at world level and Welch hasn't.
This Akinwande's really starting to prove himself over the last couple of years. He's maturing very well, and he looks a real world-class fighter. He's right up there with the big names in the heavyweight divisions.
If he wins this, there's talk of him fighting the winner of the Lennox Lewis-Oliver McCall fight on February the 7th. That, of course, down the road. He has to get Welch out of the way first. So far, he's going the right way about it. Huge 86-inch reach paying off for Akinwande all the time as he snaps out that jab.
Welch just running out of ideas.
Good right hand from Akinwande there. Welch felt the force of that all right. He is hitting harder, Akinwande, in more recent fights. He's planting his feet more. Big right hand, that one. Welch has only been down once in his career. That was against James Oyebola over here in the United States.
This is a good performance from Akinwande. He looks very polished. Landing with good jabs, and that was a sensational right hand.
Body punch with the right hand, this time sunk in by Akinwande, who looks sharp and full of confidence. At the moment, this is looking like mission impossible for Scott Welch.
It's looking very hard. He's got to try and get to Akinwande. He's got to try and catch him with a good shot. At this moment, it's all Akinwande.
Even over here, the cynical Americans are now beginning to speak of Akinwande as a British heavyweight who can really fight. There's another right hand from him. And Welch is not slipping very much at all. Big round again for Akinwande. Welcome back. Well, they're saying in the Welsh corner, you've got to become the British bulldog here, but taking right hands like that, a pretty hurtful exercise for Welch.
Jim McDonald telling him that he's showing Akinwande too much respect, but really, he just can't get to Akinwande. He's trying to get in, he's dipping his head, but he's been caught on the way in.
Fourth round so far, this going to script. Now Welch, I think, is going to try to go for it in this fourth round. He has to do something here. And another pretty ill-tempered exchange inside. Now a second warning here from Bill Connors for Welch, and he's getting near the point, Scott Welch, where the referee will be thinking of making a point deduction. And again, going in pretty dangerously with the head there, Welch.
Yes, he's going in a little too wild. He's got his head down. He's going to get caught as he tries to charge in like that. He's got to go in moving, slipping the head, slipping the punches, and trying to land with punches as he comes out of the clinch.
Yes, he's got to kind of move on the way in, really, in the way that Joe Frazier did. Bobbing and weaving, a lot of head movement so that he's not picked off as he tries to close the range. But Akinwande seems quite happy to take it to him, doesn't he?
Yes, he's done that for the majority of the fight. He's not scared to push Welch onto the back foot. And he looks good when he comes forward.
Beginning to breathe heavily, Scott Welch. He's taken quite a lot, particularly that insistent jab. And Akinwande, just for good measure, finds another couple of punches from his repertoire. The left hand, then a right, thudding into the head of Scott Welch, who at the moment is looking out of his depth. Well, all Welch, I think, can do, really, Glenn, at this point, is to somehow just hang on in there and hope that somehow the storm subsides.
When Welch tries to get forward, he always dips to the right-hand side. He's just teeing himself up for the big right hand from Akinwande.
Welch is in desperate need, really, of one punch that might just turn things around a little for him. Something to make Akinwande think. Another very hurtful looking shot to the body. That will have knocked a lot out of Welch, who is breathing heavily. Left hook this time. And another one. And Welch at the moment has the look of a man, really, who's finding this all a little too much. He just cannot find a way of getting to Henry Akinwande.
He's been caught with good punches.
Shit, these men can move in on him. When you find him with a jab.
Vaseline on my face.
When you find him with a jab.
Well, that's Jim McDonald doing the talking again to Scott Welch in the corner. They seem pretty calm.
Yes, but he's been caught with hurtful punches there, and these are good punches landing from Akinwande, and sooner or later they are really going to start hurting. Welch just he's just not getting his own punches off. He's got to try and land some punches. He's got to slip his head as he comes in and let punches go.
Fifth round. And on all scorecards, surely Akinwande will have won every round so far. You would have had to be wearing a blindfold to think otherwise. Now, what can Scott Welch do about this? There's a right hand from him, thrown from an unusual angle, then a body shot too. And again, going in with the head. And Akinwande again shooting glances at the referee.
Welch just can't depend on single punches. He's got to try and land combinations.
Well, Scott Welch was saying to me before this fight, it might not be pretty. I think he was going to try everything to try to overcome these big physical disadvantages of height and reach that he had in the fight. But I just wonder, really, whether that headbutt stirred up Akinwande even more.
That's right, that certainly seemed to get him in the mood, and he's come on top more and more as the rounds have gone on. He looks very polished. He's really letting that jab go well.
The plus point for Welch is that he is strong, and he's taken quite a lot so far, but he's still there.
Yes, he's trained very, very hard for this fight. He's obviously going to be in great condition. He's sparred with big, tall guys. He's done all the preparation right, but then he's in with a good quality fighter in Akinwande.
This has been sparring with the very tall Steve Garber, but with the greatest respect to him, it's a long way up from Garber to Akinwande. Akinwande very, very careful, you'll notice, to keep his head away from Welch when they get in close.
And Akinwande now more and more prepared to stand right in front of Welch, back him onto the ropes.
Last half a minute of the fifth round. So far, one-sided. Has Scott Welch got any surprises for us all? There was a wicked-looking right from Akinwande. A sort of uppercut, come hook. Akinwande, born and bred in Dulwich, of Nigerian parentage, and he's looking a good fighter again here. This close quarter brawling in that last round, which Akinwande would have won again, Glenn.
Yes, it's becoming a little bit one-sided. Welch just can't get close enough. He can't get his punches off, and all the good work's coming from Akinwande, and he's got a big lead. I think he's won every round.
Sixth round, Akinwande, who's trained, by the way, by Don Turner, the man who was with Evander Holyfield when he caused that massive sensation against Mike Tyson. And he was saying to Akinwande between the rounds, he's an amateur compared to you. Go out and boss the fight. Oh, right hand, and that nearly had Welch down. His knees were buckled, and he's in trouble here, Scott Welch. He did very, very well to stay up from that, and he's breathing heavily, and look at those gloves going down from Welch. I wonder if we're close to the finish here.
It certainly looks that way. There's nothing he's bringing back now, and it's all Akinwande.
Welch is groggy. Again, he comes up for a big, deep gulp of air. Another right hand, and I think Bill Connors, the referee, may step in pretty soon if it carries on like this. It's been Akinwande from start to finish.
And Welch is looking tired, big gasps of breath.
Left hook, one to the head, one to the body from Akinwande. Welch is hurt again. He's shown courage, but really we're seeing the difference here between a world-class fighter and a domestic level fighter.
And again, Welch trapped on the ropes, nothing coming back from him.
Akinwande just really now, you feel, trying to pick the punches to find a finish. Clubbing right hand again. Akinwande, who really has come a long way from the days when he was on the dole and used to earn pin money cleaning the lions in Trafalgar Square. Well, this is really, really hard for Scott Welch.
Listen, don't start feeling sorry for yourselves. It's tough business. Right? Listen, focus. You're in that bubble. Listen, nothing. We don't care. It's a night's work. Now listen, just listen to me. Even if you throw one decent shot this round, do it for your baby. Pitch your shot. Try and nail him. Listen, you've got to throw decent shots. Find him little.
I think I'm loading up too much.
Yeah, but listen, you're not saying nothing, Scott. You're letting him dictate. He's backing you up. He's getting your ropes. He's working you over.
What? Spit over there if you want to spit.
You listen to me? You've got to take the ball by the horns. Now listen.
Well, Jim McDonnell is trying hard to get Scott Welch into the fight somehow with some words, but it's easy for him to say and very, very hard for Welch to do.
Yes, he's just unable to get close. He's unable to let his punches go. And in that round, he barely threw a punch. He was just taking punches and thinking about defense. He's got to start throwing punches.
7th round. Can Welch respond to the pep talk from the corner? It's almost as if Akinwande is trying to beckon him in and then catch him on the way in.
And once again, just standing off. He just looks as if he's thinking about it all too much and just not letting it go.
Right hand again from Akinwande, thuds through again. Welch has to bite the bullet. Akinwande looks very composed and cool. He's that kind of an individual anyway, isn't he, out of the ring too.
This is the real professional performance from Akinwande. He's just doing the fight exactly as he wants it.
Another right hand. It's been a long time since we've seen a bad performance from Akinwande, isn't it?
Yes, he's looked really good. And again, there's nothing coming back from Welch, and he's just been teed up with the jab, and then the big right hands are landing.
Akinwande is not known as a hugely concussive puncher. Otherwise, I think the fight might already be over.
Oh, 2 good punches to the body, so his variety's good.
His work, though, has been sharp and accurate, hasn't it? Well, off balance, Welch. Welch has prepared for this fight with manic intensity, and he's needing all his conditioning in there. One-sided.
Very much so. He just can't get his punches off.
Welcome back to the Nashville arena, where Henry Akinwande is putting in a very dominant performance indeed in defence of his WBO heavyweight title against fellow Briton Scott Welch.
And that looked to be about the only shot that Welch tried to get off in that round, and he loaded up with it that much he almost threw himself off balance.
Round 8. One thing that the Welsh camp did think, Glenn, was that Akinwande may not have the heart if it came to a real trench warfare battle in the later stages. But to be honest with you, it hasn't been trench warfare, it's been all Akinwande.
Yes, it's been very, very one-sided, and he's really boxed as he likes. Good jab. You know, he's just got him on the end of that jab, and he's picking him off at will.
I don't know what the antidote to the Akinwande style is. It would need, I think, a faster heavyweight with more moves, wouldn't it, of this kind of size, or maybe an early Tyson.
That's right. Need somebody who's got good head movement, keeps that target on the move, but comes back with punches all the time, who can really work inside.
Again, right hand got through again from Akinwande. He's mixing up the punches pretty impressively. Welch again lets his gloves drop by his side, and significantly he didn't move away from those ropes. I just wonder if the legs are beginning to stiffen, and now I think there's a little graze underneath his right eye. Welch, just signs of that face puffing up. He's had to take a lot. He's such a amiable, likeable chap, Scott Welch, and he's prepared so well for this, the biggest boxing night of his life. It's got to that point almost where you wouldn't really want to see him take too much more of this.
No, he's took some very heavy right hands. He's been worked over a good deal in this fight. You can tell he's frustrated at his own performance. He's worked so hard for this fight, and I think he's disappointed. He's not getting in there, and he's not getting any of his punches off.
At no stage yet has Welch even threatened to take a round. One or two of the neutral American fans here, I think, want to see something a bit more competitive. You can almost see the self-belief draining out of Scott Welch with every passing second.
Yes, he's been very, very confident throughout the build-up in training. He's really looked very positive, but you can see that, as you see, and just draining out of him. All the confidence is gone now.
Well, Henry Akinwande is so far pitching for a shutout. I have scored every round 10-9 to the champion.
Yes, and I think it's a disappointing performance from Welch, but a very good performance from Akinwande, who's just not allowing him to get close, not allowing him to throw punches inside, and using the jab very well.
As we look outside in Nashville, which they call the Athens of the South, it's been very, very snowy in these parts. Of course, a big country music centre where the country stars churn out their hits.
But you got to make him fall, man. He's not going to lay down by himself.
You've got to make him fall, says Don Turner. He's not going to lie down by himself. Well, he's right about that.
There's maybe the feeling in that corner is they want Akinwande just to step it up a little bit, just to try and get the job done now.
Ninth round. Yes, I suppose if you were being very critical of Akinwande, you would say that if he really is got the ambition to be right up there alongside the Tysons and the Lewises and the Holyfields and the Bows, where then he should be finishing this job.
Yes, he's completely dominated the fight, and I think that, you know, everybody's getting a little frustrated that he hasn't finished the job, and I think that, you know, that could be a disappointment from his camp.
Look at this Akinwande jab. We've seen about 8 of them so far in this round.
And when you see him really sticking the jab out like that, you've got to say it's got to be a good heavyweight that's going to get past that.
So far, Welch has never looked like finding the answers, though there he does land with a left hook. And Akinwande just held on for a moment now. Is that the start of something for Welch? Or was it just a flicker?
Well, it was the first time in the round he's really got a punch off, and it was quite sharp. Nice little short, sharp left hook, which just seemed to connect well on the chin.
Well, we've seen a couple of fights in the past where one fellow has been winning every round, and then late on, the other chap has come up with a punch to just turn the whole thing on its head. Remember Carl Daniels and Julio Cesar Vasquez in the light middleweight division about a year ago. And that is Welch's only hope now, to find a knockout. Stepped off the gas a little bit so far in this round, Akinwande. Quieter round.
Yes, I think that's maybe what he lacks, to capture the public's attention in America. He really has to open up and cause that a sensation with a good finish, and he needs to do that now.
Last few seconds of the 9th round, still pretty one-sided, though that was a quieter round. We've heard what Glenn McCrory, sitting alongside me, is thinking of it. What about Gary Mason back in London? Gary, what do you think?
Well, I think he's boxing very, very well, using his reach and everything else. But Scott isn't actually doing anything, and Jimmy's not telling him exactly what to do. So Henry's just being predictably Henry, but Scott, because he's not actually doing anything, hasn't done anything, he's not making the effect that he could make. Jimmy should be telling him what punches to throw and how to throw them, because that's the inspiration that Scott needs at the moment. But all fair dues to Henry, he's doing what he does best, he's using his reach, he's boxing well, and he's winning, you know?
Thanks a lot, Gary. He certainly is winning. Henry Akinwande. That was the best punch of the contest from Welch.
It was, but you see straight away Akinwande just ties up and doesn't allow Welch to get off with any more punches.
Akinwande really has had some good wins, but the only blemish on his record is a draw with Axel Schultz back in 1992 in a European title fight, and most observers there felt that Akinwande had won the fight. Nobody's beaten him. In fact, his last defeat, Akinwande, was against Arnold van der Leyen, the Dutchman, in the 1988 Olympic Games, and that was a split decision. Well, you have to say it's been a disappointing performance by Welch.
Yes, at no point has he managed to slip the jabs. He can't get inside, and there's just been such a lack of activity. He's hardly thrown a punch in the fight.
It's a bit cruel, but I think the word is outclassed. One danger possibly for Akinwande here is that he just becomes a little complacent. He'll have to keep his concentration. He's starting to pick off Welch with headshots. Well, the crowd becoming animated as Welch at least tried to come back with a right hand.
But it doesn't really look as if single shots will be enough for Welch. He's got to try and put them together in clusters. I think that's the only chance he has of connecting with a good punch.
There's a good right hand from Welch with his back to the ropes. Good shot. He needs a lot more of that. As the heads again brush together close in.
Yes, again, it was a good punch, but again, a single one. He's got to try and put them together.
Nothing really that Welch has tried, or very little anyway, has paid off. His attempts to rough it up with Akinwande early on with the butt, that didn't work. It just seemed to send Akinwande into a slightly higher gear. Seconds to go in round 10. Don't forget, we've still got Kevin Lushing's bid for the world welterweight title here, up against Felix Trinidad.
Again, towards the end of the round, a criticism with Akinwande. He just slips off the gas a little bit. He looked good at the beginning, but then his work rate just slackens.
Totally dominant. Henry Akinwande now lives in Tallahassee in Florida, though he does have homes in London and Nigeria as well. Very comfortable lifestyle since he's moved over here.
Don't go straight in. All you're doing is trying to con you. Trying to con you, trying to survive. Take it slow. When you hit him good.
There's another good right hand. There's the one punch that come back from Welch, but it's single punches. He's got to try and throw more and more.
Look at Akinwande there. Bit of showboating from him. It's really the gesture of a man who feels in total control.
Yes, he's very confident. He's doing everything that he needs to do. He's just got him on the end of the jab and landing good punches.
Here's round 11. Scott Welch has been needing a stoppage or knockout in his favour for a long time. He's so far behind on points. We still have not given him a round.
Well, that's how I have it. I have it a complete shutout, everything for Akinwande.
So do I. Who doesn't? That was just a slip by Scott Welch. No knockdown. For all the punches that Akinwande has landed, he has not been able to put Scott Welch on the floor. He nearly did. He certainly buckled Welch's knees with one 2 or 3 rounds ago. Akinwande, who's 31 now, he must be wishing that he'd come over to America a little bit earlier on and started to enjoy the good times.
Because it looks as if he's learned so much from being over here. Obviously, he's getting good work in the gym, sparring with the best fighters, and it really, it's starting to show. He's a very mature, he's a polished performer.
I think he's a bit bitter too about his time when he was in Britain and based in Britain. I think he feels there was a lack of recognition and a lack of profile there. Well, maybe we'll see him over fighting in London, defending this title. As it does look as if he's going to hold on to it here pretty comfortably, unless Scott Welch can produce something quite sensational.
It certainly looks as if Akinwande is just content to see this out and just outbox Welch. And I think the crowd getting very frustrated about that. I think they want to see a little bit more work from Akinwande.
I must say, Scott Welch has shown admirable resilience. No questioning his desire, commitment, courage, and durability.
But the one thing he hasn't been able to do is just get his punches off, and that's what he needed.
Akinwande cannot put him away. Well, a few verbals between the fighters there as the bell went to end the 11th round, but it's not words that Welch needs.
Breathe deep. Breathe deep. Long as you use your head and fight and you win it. Long as you don't use your head. Gloves when you come out. Well, we'll touch it. Can we get him? Can we knock him out this round? I want to see it. Waiting too long. I want to see it.
Don't work hard for 3 minutes. Yeah. Do me a favour. Do it for me if you won't do it for no one else.
Gumshoe. You've got everything you've got now.
Scott, swing everything you've got. He's a little boy. Have a go for him. Swing everything. Do it for him. Do it pride. Do it pride. Do it pride. Look at him.
Last 3 minutes.
Knock him out. Knock him out. Don't say no. Last round, Scott.
Well, they know the score. They're flashing a photograph of Scott Welch's 2-year-old son in front of him and saying, do it for him. Well, it's the kind of desperate psychological ploy that we've seen before. Can Welch respond to that?
And interesting, in the other corner, they're saying to Akinwande, they're frustrated, can you knock him out this round? He said he could.
I think the words in the corner there just told you the story from the perspective of both camps here. Akinwande's people want a stoppage victory. Welch's people want any kind of victory, and they know it has to be a knockout now. But Akinwande's been around this business a long, long time, and I think that old cool boxing brain of his will be saying to him, hey, I've got this tied up, I'm just going to stay out of trouble here and box my way to the victory, and I'll still be WBO champion.
Yes, he's a very smart thinking fighter. He's not going to take any chances. If he has to do it behind the jab and maybe he doesn't get the KO win, he's happy with that as long as he wins and he goes on to defend his title again.
I tell you what, though, I want to see Akinwande in now with a Holyfield, a Lewis, a Bowe, Galotta, Mora, Tyson. That, I think, is when we find out whether he can move on to the next bit.
Yes, I think he needs it himself. He needs one of the big fights to really bring the best out in himself. But he looks a class fighter who could deal with any of those fighters.
It's been a bridge too far for Scott Welch. Looks that way anyway.
Yes, even in this last round with all the motivation, all the talk from Jim McDonnell, he still can't get his punches going.
That cut underneath the right eye, just a bit worse for Welch. It's nothing for him really to worry about. It's the least of his problems, frankly. But at least it looks as if Welch will hear the final bell, which is more than Alexander Zolkin did when Akinwande last appeared on the Tyson Holyfield bill. More than Jeremy Williams did as well when Akinwande won the WBO title.
Yes, Welch has took the punches well. I think that's a credit to his conditioning and his work, but he'll be disappointed because he hasn't getting the punches off that he wanted to do.
Akinwande has just been too fast, too classy. Last 5 seconds, some boos from the crowd here in Nashville, and a left hand hurts Welch very, very late on. Still he wants to throw punches back. He gets a bit bad-tempered even after the final bell. Well, look at this. Well, Scott Welch was trying to wind up Akinwande before the fight. And I think Akinwande had a few things boiling away inside there, didn't he? I think he was trying to say to Welch, well, there's my answer to you.
Yes, I think he felt that he gives Scott Welch a lesson, and I think, you know, he maybe he wanted a bit of respect at the end of that, and he didn't get that from Welch.
Well, a lesson it most certainly was. Scott Welch came in with a strategy, but he was a strategy that he found impossible to execute, really, against this huge, gangling beanpole of a heavyweight, Henry Akinwande.
And there's the rough stuff at the end.
You did good.
Well, I think Akinwande said to him, USA, so I don't know whether Akinwande regards himself as an American heavyweight now.
I'm not sure. I think he may be reacting to the jibes. I don't think he liked the jibes at the press conference that Scott Welch said. He didn't class Akinwande as a Brit, and he classed him as an American.
Bitter disappointment for Scott Welch, really. He worked so hard and for so long over Christmas and the New Year and long before for this fight. And Henry Akinwande is a heavyweight on a roll, and his next mission may be to take on the winner of Lennox Lewis v. Oliver McCall.
Yes,
now, are we going to see it? Hang on a minute, what's going on here now, Glenn? I think Welch is going to continue the argument here with Akinwande. There's the picture at the moment with Holyfield holding the WBA title, Mora IBF, Akinwande the WBO, and the WBC title is vacant until February the 7th, when Lewis and McCall meet. Glenn McCrory's scorecard, it's a shutout.
Complete shutout. Every round I gave to Akinwande, he was always there. There was nothing came from Scott Welch, so that's how I have it. Full shutout to Akinwande.
Which would be 120 to 108. That's how we've scored it, both Glenn and I wonder if all three judges had it that way as well. The belt is still around the waist of Akinwande. Don King in his Only in America jacket. Here we get the official announcement.
After 12 rounds of boxing here at the Nashville Arena, we have a unanimous decision. Here are the score totals. Our judge at ringside, Rafael Lopez Santos, scores at 119 to 110. Judges at ringside, Stuart Winston and Gene Williams, they both scored about exactly the same, 120 to 108. All three in favor of the winner, and still champion, the undefeated Henry Akinwande.
Akinwande retains his title for the second time, and two of the three judges felt, as Glenn and I did, that he won every single round. Welch was never, ever in the fight. It was a facile task for Akinwande, and the only real question about him there was, well, should he have finished Welch? Well, maybe not. You can argue about that, but frankly, Henry Akinwande did a pretty professional job from my standpoint anyway. What about you, Glenn?
It was a very good performance. Obviously, if we're going to be completely critical, we could say that maybe he should have stopped him. He should have just upped his work rate and just looked for more punches, Akinwande. But certainly, I get disappointment from Welch. I think he'd be disappointed himself. He worked so hard. He got in tremendous shape, but he just couldn't let anything go on the night. Couldn't get close enough and couldn't get his punches off.
Frank Warren, Scott's manager, Scott Welch's manager. Akinwande talking now with Ferdy Pacheco.
Keep doing, he just get close, and when the referee said break, he make sure that he always holding and punching after the clinch, you know. But
the oddity here was before the fight, this guy was doing all the mouthing and noise, and after the fight, you're mad and he's calm.
You know, but I mean, you can see, you know, I mean, like he doesn't want to come and fight. You know, after the fight, he just says it's all right. But I take my job seriously, you know, but as you can see as well, he doesn't want to fight. I mean, I'm very grateful to Don King, you know, for putting this fight through.
I mean, in spite of the fact he wasn't fighting, are you satisfied with your performance? I know Turner, everybody wanted a knockout, but it's hard to knock a guy out that didn't fight him. Were you satisfied?
I'm not satisfied with it because, I mean, I want to knock him out, but as you can see, the guy's trying to do whatever he wants to do, you know, to make sure that he kept holding on when the referee said break, you know. But, I mean, that's another win, you know, but I just have to go back to the gym.
Let me ask Don, in a fight like this, and we've seen a lot of fighting, when the opponent is just not doing it, is not throwing any punches, because he didn't throw any for about 4 or 5 rounds in a row, and he's landing right hands, is it possible that a referee comes over and says to him, hey, if you don't do better, I'm going to stop this fight?
It is possible. Referees have done that and made a guy go out and fight. However, as you can see, this guy wasn't fighting, but it was very difficult because it's awkward and he stayed bent down, and Henry was trying to do whatever he could do, but he kept that jab when it was working.
We were saying during the thing, you have a superior fighter here, but he hasn't got the name quality yet. To get the name quality, you got to knock out these kind of guys. This has got to be very frustrating for him. What do you do as a promoter to get this guy better fights, or fights that he's going to look good? He's a superior fighter, but he can't look good against a guy like that.
You're absolutely right, but the guy was the mandatory challenger. He was the #1 contender, and you must respect the rules of the organization. The WBO had him as #1 contender, so we had to fight him. Now you'll see Henry fighting anybody and everybody because that's what he wants to do.
Okay, Don, one last question. What did you mean by USA? At the end, you were taunting this guy about USA.
You know, as you can say, I mean, you guys can, if you haven't known, if you haven't had it from the press conference, he said I betrayed England, you know, by coming to America and get a green card, you know. So, I mean, they've been running them out, you know, but, as I said...
Is it true? You live in Tallahassee now?
I live in Tallahassee.
Is it true you're going to play for the Florida State Seminoles? Bobby Bowden says they're recruiting you for tight end if this doesn't work out with Don King.
No, I mean, I'm not contemplating.
All right, you are a boxer, the heavyweight champion of the world. Thank you very much.
Well, there's Henry Akinwande, still the WBO champion. Consummate professional performance. Should he have stopped Welch? You can argue about that, but Akinwande, well, he won everything from beginning to end there, and a disappointing night for Scott Welch.
So Henry Akinwande still unbeaten and still WBO heavyweight champion. In a moment, we'll look back at that fight and ahead to Kevin Lushing, the man they call the Look, his sights set firmly on a world crown.
You're watching Sky Sports 1.
Welcome back, sir. Henry Akinwande is still WBO heavyweight champion, and in the end, Scott Welch's challenge fizzled out rather disappointingly. Gary Mason, obviously, went over there mentally right, but in the end, he just wasn't good enough, and it's cruel to say, but his manager's thrown more punches than he has, or landed more this week.
But I wouldn't say that he just wasn't good enough, because if Henry was going to be as convincing as he should have been, he should have knocked Scott out. It's just that Scott wasn't throwing the right sort of punches. The fight, it wasn't a spectacular fight, it didn't look good, but Scott wasn't throwing the right sort of punches that he could have thrown.
Couldn't throw, though, could he? Couldn't throw anything, could he, against a guy like that?
He could, but there was something wrong, there was no coordination. When a fighter goes back to his corner, you don't have a conversation with the person in the corner. You listen to what they have to say. If you're having a conversation with your corner people, there's something wrong. And they more than once we saw them having a conversation in the corner. That means there's something wrong. I still believe in my heart of hearts that Scott can become world champion.
But Duke, he looked disappointed with himself at the end, didn't he?
He looked totally dejected. I mean, well, I think
no, can I just say, at the end, they were standing toe to toe at the end because Henry did not earn Scott's respect because he didn't really win in the way that he
won every round.
Yeah, well,
he started off. It looked. You know, we was talking earlier, right? And you said he was going to get into the fight after about 3 or 4 rounds, but you know, the guy's in America and you can't lose 4 rounds to Akinwande. You just can't, not in America. And then as the fight wore on, after about the 6th round, he was so demoralised, his spirits were so low, he didn't even have it in him to get desperate.
We talked about this beforehand. The very fact was that Scott didn't have enough trouble or didn't have enough ability to get close to Akinwande. That was always going to be the problem. And once he started to go back, he wasn't going to win the fight. He had to come forward with upper body movement, and he didn't do that. And his legs were too slow to get him in a position to throw punches. And what Jimmy told him in the corner made no difference. And it started from the beginning. Have a look at the 3rd round here, for example, this right hand. You know, it really started there, and Scott should have been taking the fight to him. Instead of being negative and going back, he should have been coming forward. And,
do we underestimate Akinwande, though?
Akinwande's a sensational.
He got it all right, didn't he?
Yeah. He got it all. His tactics were impeccable.
But did Scott didn't throw that many punches. So you can't say that Scott wasn't. He just didn't get the opportunity to do the things that he should have done. And with the inspiration from the corner and the right tactics, he would have been able to do a lot better than that. But for one reason or another, Scott just wasn't firing the punches.
Akinwande wouldn't allow him to, though. Let's be fair, Gary, because he kept stabbing him with that jab, and he was throwing some excellent little short uppercuts inside, clubbing him. You know, they weren't that damaging, but they were clubbing little uppercuts. He threw some good body punches, Akinwande, which really surprised me. I mean, the guy's like 6'7".
And have a look at this right hand. When you get hit like this, it knocks all the ambition out of your, knocks the wind out of your sails. And you know, at the end of the day, you know, if the guy hasn't got the ability to be able to throw the punches himself, and when you keep getting hit like this and hurt like this and continuously out-jabbed and outworked, it's very difficult to get your punches off. It's demoralising. And it's debilitating.
At this stage, Scott was basically a little bit disheartened, and he wasn't really trying anything. You need fighters. I remember countless times I was in fights with Terry in the corner, and I went back to the corner. I felt like giving up, but Terry inspired me to continue.
This is his best shot, probably, but there it is.
He comes back with one good right hand here. But what we didn't have enough of, we didn't have enough punches. And you know, no matter what you say, Gary, at the end of the day, if you have to rely on your cornerman to tell you what to do at this level, there's something wrong with you. You're not good enough.
All fighters do. We see it constantly all the time. Corners win fights as well as the fighters. It's a combination of the two.
This is really what we saw, the most aggression from Scott.
And this is the end of the fight. See, Scott. See, Henry has not gained Scott's respect. And Scott, if they have it again, I'm going to go and stand in Scott's corner. We'll see a different fight.
But it's too late, Gary. It's no use him showing the aggression.
This was his chance.
Yeah, well, no, Henry was the one showing the aggression. Scott was just trying to say, well, I'm still here, you know. But listen, that is not the end of Welsh by far. You always see how good a fighter is when you see him losing. Scott should have been knocked out if he was that bad. He really should have been knocked out if he was that bad. He couldn't have been that bad. There's just something wrong. It just wasn't firing, you know. But you wait.
Well, perhaps that just shows he's got a good chin.
Okay, all right, that's fair enough. All right.
Frustrating for Scott Welch then, but Henry Akinwande still WBO heavyweight champion.